Hey guys, some of you may have read that I am writing a new cookbook called the Vegan Creamery, which will be out in 2025. And this will be all things plant, milk, dairy. In other words, everything from milk to ice cream and, of course, cheese. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I want to share with you some of my experimentation, where I am in the process of creating these new products or these new cheeses, not products. And it's been, gosh, one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's gotten me back into my creative zone where these ideas are now hitting me as to what I can do with what plant milk. And it's been this journey where I've been learning about how different plant milks function because they are all different. You know, just like cow's milk is different from sheep's milk versus goat milk. Every single plant milk is different because they have a different composition of proteins and fats and carbohydrates and even different amino acid profiles. So they're going to act differently when exposed to heat and enzymes and cultures, bacteria, molds, etc. So I've just had to spend a ton of time really sort of discovering how do these milks function to come up with these cheeses. And I found that certain milks work for certain molds or yeasts or cultures, and some work for other things, and some I just can't get to work at all. So it's been an exciting and yet frustrating journey because I'm under a deadline to get the manuscript into the publisher by mid-July, and so I got to get this done. But I'm really happy with some of the things that I have managed to create. So right before me, I have a little platter here of this blue cheese. It's a Roquefort made with just 3 ingredients. Now, it takes a little bit of practice, but I'm going to just show you right here. I've got a Roquefort in ripening stage. Now, this takes about 4 weeks for it to be fully ripe and ready to eat. But as you can see, the mold is growing beautifully. Smells like blue cheese, tastes like blue cheese. And this is made with 2 different plants, 2 different milks, which is pretty remarkable. What happens is I make a curd out of these 2 milks, and then I drain the curds, and it leaves a little bit of space between the curds so that the mold, the blue mold, can grow, because mold needs oxygen in which to grow. If you have a solid mass, the mold can't grow in between. So this turned out to be the perfect milk curd for that. The white cheese I call Reggie goat. This is like a goat style cheese. This is one that has been aged. It's like a really hard aged cheese that I put into a wine brine, sort of like a cheddar. What happened was I made some cheese like months and months and months ago, and I just wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. And then I coated it in wax, and I just kind of forgot about it. And then I cut it open, and it turned out to be so good. This is how people used to preserve cheese. You could keep cheese for years if you coated it in wax like this without refrigeration. So I've been playing around with that as well too. So these are all cheeses that take a little bit of loving care and time, but all of these are made without gums or starches added to it. Now some will have some starches added to it, like the malumi in the last episode that comes together within a day. And others will take patience and time as the most valuable ingredient. This is called Parma Casio. It's like a Parmesan, but I live in Nicasio, so I call it Parma Casio. And Casio also means cheese in Italian. And as you can see, this grates beautifully in my olive wood cheese grater. It actually has olives in it. So olives actually help give it some of that Parmesan flavor. And as you can see, these beautiful shreds. This is perfect on any pasta. Now, I've also been trying to figure out, I don't know if this is the final recipe, I just made this today. I've been trying to figure out how do I make a really great mozzarella that does not use cashews? Because one of the things about my last cookbook and the business that I had was that everything was cashew based. A lot of people can't eat cashews. So I've been trying to get away from cashews and use other ingredients. And this one is made out of sunflower seeds. So this is a buffalo style mozzarella. I just made it, so I haven't even tasted it yet. Sunflower seeds are interesting because they're kind of brown, and I had to figure out a technique to sort of whiten it. It's not as lily white as cashew-based mozzarella, but it is pretty white. It's pretty elastic. I don't know if it melts. I'm going to give it a taste. So I'll be the first person in the world tasting this. It's mild. No, I would say it's like mozzarella. I think you could use a little bit more salt. But otherwise, I think it's pretty good. And I'm going to later see whether or not it does melt. Speaking to sunflower seed cheese, I've got some of the mass draining. And I tried it 2 different ways. I tried making sunflower seed milk and straining the pulp first before I fermented it. And then I also made it without straining it because sunflower seeds are really, really soft. And this is the mass that I did not strain. As you can see, the water is pretty brown here. And the mass is a lot browner than what I got after I strained the milk. So I would say that I probably wouldn't use this. But this is the kind of experimenting that I do. I'll make things 2 or 3 different ways to see what impact something has on it. A lot of people are asking me, am I going to start another company? And no, I'm not going to start another company. What I want to do is open source all of these recipes so you can make it at home. I am envisioning thousands of cheesemakers around the world making cheese, opening up little shops. I have visited vegan cheese shops around the world in Budapest, in Genoa, Italy, in London, in the United States, in several places. And it's just, I think we need to get back to more of a local regional economy where people are producing foods to sell to feed their communities. So I am hoping that this book with the recipes will inspire a legion of cheesemakers all over the world. If that's what we're trying to do is to take animals out of the food system, then we need to empower people with the tools in which to do so and not just rely on big corporations to feed us. There are about 10 corporations worldwide that produce about 70% of the world's food supply. And that's pretty scary, is that we are depending on a handful of corporations to feed us, to give us not just the packaged foods, but even the grains, the legumes that are grown, because they control what farmers grow. And we need to sort of be able to take food back into our own hands to regain food sovereignty, especially for communities that are outside of the Western world that have lost it and are producing food for the Western world, not for their own communities anymore. And so we do need sort of a grassroots revolution in the food space to happen. It's something I'm really, really passionate about. And open sourcing foods, fundamental recipes like this is critical to being able to do that. So I hope you keep watching The Vegan Good Life with Miyoko. I'll keep you posted on updates with my book, sharing sneak peeks occasionally. And also, I want you to ask me any question. I'm going to be answering them in an upcoming episode. So it'll be Ask Miyoko Anything. We'll have an episode called that. And I'm going to be taking your questions ahead of time and maybe even doing it live. So until next week, have a very happy, cheesy week.